For Recursion Mystery 8, we have the following method, and we need to look at the parameter that's passed through and give the output. So for this one, we are going to skip the 3 and 4 parameters because those can be done after learning about 6 and 7. Right now we're going to look at 6. So we're passed in the parameter 6 initially. We are in our else statement since it is not less than or equal to 1. And we need to system.out.print our n. So our n value is 6, and we need to have equal a parenthesis. And we have a recursion method right here. So we are going to have 6, and we're going to pass it back into our method. And we need to divide it by 2, and that's going to give us 3. And we're going to add the modulus of that. The modulus of 6 by 2 is 0. So we're just going to have 3 passed in. We need to go back into our else statement, and we are going to have 3 is equal to, and then a parenthesis. We're going to stop at this recursion part again. So we have 3, and we are going to pass this into our method again, but we need to divide by 2. Rounding it down, we're going to get 1, and for here it's going to be 1, and then we're going to take the modulus of that, and that's going to be 1. So our parameter is going to be 2. From here we need to print our n with an equal sign and a parenthesis, and we hit our recursion again. So we're going to have our 2. We're going to pass it in. We need to divide it by 2. That's 1. The modulus of that is 0, so we're just going to get 1. Now we hit our base case. We hit our if statement. So we're just going to print out n. Our n is 1. Now we need to go back into our code to finish it off. So now we're dealing with everything down here. We have a comma, and we have a recursion mystery n divided by 2. So we are going to pass in our parameter of 2. Our parameter is 2. We are passing it in to our method. So we'll have 2, passing it into our method, but we need to divide this by 2, and that's going to give us 1. So we are going to hit our base case again, like this. We're going to print out 1, and we need to go back into our code, and we see that we are given a parenthesis like this. So that's it for that part. Now we are going to go to here, this part, and we need to come down to finish off the code below that recursion. So we have a comma, and we need our n divided by 2. Well, our n currently is 3, so we are going to get a 1, but we are getting a 1 as a parameter. So we have to pass this 1 into our method, hitting our base case. After we hit our base case, we just need a system.print out our n, and our n is 1. So we are printing out the 1 like this. And now we go to this line, and we have a parenthesis. Next, we are going to look at this part. We're going to come to here. So we need to go down into this next part. We are going to have a comma like this. So after we have our comma, we need to take our n value, which is 6, and divide it by 2. So it's kind of starting the recursion over, but we have 6, and we are going to pass in 3 as our parameter because we're dividing 6 by 3. And then from here, we are going into our else statement. We are printing out our 3 is equal parenthesis. We're printing out this part. And then we have to go into this recursion method again. But we have already done that. We've already done that here. And we can reuse our output. That means we can really just copy and paste this portion, because we're really just redoing that again. After we do this, we just have this code. After we finish our recursion, really, we would have it look like this. And then we have this last line of code right here where we have to add our parenthesis in. And that will be the answer. For this next part, we're passed in the parameter of 7. And that means we are going to be in our else statement. We are going to print out our n. Our n currently is 7. And we're going to say equals parenthesis. And then we have our recursion. So we have our 7 initially. We have to pass it as a parameter. We need to have it divided by 2, which is going to give us 3, and take the modulus of that, which is 1. So we are going to get 3 plus 1, which is 4. From here, we're going to go back into our method, and we are going to have our n is equal to parenthesis, and then hit our recursion again. 4 is just going to be 4 passed in like this, giving us 2. And we are going into our else statement again. We are going to print our n, which is 2, and have equals parenthesis, and we are going to pass in our 2. We are going to divide it by 2, which is going to give us 1. The modulus of 2 is 0, so we are just going to get 1. We've hit our base case right here, so now we are just going to output 1, and we can start going backwards. Going back into our code, we hit this comma. Now we need to take n, which is 2, and divide it by 2. Passing this in gives us the value of 1, which gives us our base case again, so we're just going to output our n value, which is 1. We are going to go back into our code one last time to output the parenthesis. After we do this, we are going to be in this part. And from here, we need to go down in our code. So we're going to have a comma here, and we're going to have another recursion with our n being 4. So n being 4, we're passing in our value, which is 2. Passing in 2, we are going to have 2 is equal parenthesis, and then we hit this recursion right here. So we are going to pass in 2, which is going to turn into 1, giving us our base case right here. So we are just going to return 1, and we need to come back into our code. We're going to have a comma, and then we need to go through this recursion with our n being 2, and since our n is just 2, we're passing it back in, and we're just going to get the base case, which is 1. So we have 1 and then a parenthesis. After we do those, we need to go back into this code, and all we need to do is print a parenthesis like this, because we went from this part to solving the recursion inside of it, which would be these two, and then we had to finish it with this parenthesis. Lastly, we are going to be in our original part, so we are going to have a comma first off, and then we're going to have our modulus divided by 2, our n divided by 2. Our n here is 7, so we are going to take 7 as our parameter, pass it in, divided by 2, which is going to give us 3. We are going to be in our else statement, outputting the 3 is equal parenthesis, and we hit this right here, so we need to participate in this recursion. We have 3, and after dividing it by 2, we get 1. The modulus of that is 1, so we're going to have 2 again. We need to plug this in. We get 2 is equal to the parenthesis of this modulus, or this recursion, and we have our recursion value being 2. Passing it in, we are going to get 1. So that hits our base case, and we are just going to output 1. Now we can go down here, and we are going to divide it by 2, giving us our base case again, which will be 1. We have a parenthesis, and then we need to go back into this code, which will give us a comma, because we are now in here, we are going to have to use our end value, which is 3, and plug it into this recursion. And plugging it in gives us the value 1, which is our base case. So we're just going to have a 1, and then we're going to end it with a comma because we have to look at this now. And then from here, we need to go all the way back to our original spot. And since we've solved everything for here, what's left is just a parenthesis, and we just need a parenthesis like that. And that is our final answer.